Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan, and today we are doing a buy, sell, keep, avoid video for Game Week 6 in today, a double upload day. Yeah, we've already done a video today, but I thought there's not much time really until Game Week 6 actually starts. So let's get these videos rolling, let's get them flowing, let's get loads of content out, because that's what we like, right? I think if you do, please do leave a like if you're enjoying the uploads at the moment. Please do subscribe if you haven't done already. Without further ado, guys, let's have a look at the rules of the video. Alright guys, so buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players that you might be thinking about removing. I think you should actually keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now. I think they are potential traps that should be avoided. 2 players in each category. You guys probably know the drill by now. Let's start off with some buys. Okay, so our first buy is going to be Wilf Zaha, as 7.1 million midfielder with some very, very average fixtures, but with some incredible underlying stats. In fact, with the best, in my opinion, the best underlying stats of any midfielder in the game right now, including the premiums, including your Salahs, your De Bruynes, your Heung-min Sons, who maybe isn't saying much. But what I'm saying is that Zaha has been absolutely dominating it, destroying it, really doing so well. 4 goals so far, no assist yet, but the underlying stats suggest that he has been close to be getting an assist a decent amount of times by now. He probably should have had an assist by now if maybe his teammates were a little bit better at finishing. But yeah, super nailed on penalties, taking a decent amount of shots in some really dangerous areas. And I think that's the key with Zaha, really. The shots that he takes are in those dangerous areas. He likes to dribble in and get into those dangerous positions before just taking random shots on. So the chances that he do has, that was almost a sentence, Dan. Nice one, Dan. The chances he does have are very, very high value. So we like that, and he has that bit of creativity as well. So there's lots of things to like about him. He is just performing a lot better on these underlying numbers than all of the other midfielders at the moment. And although the fixtures don't look great on paper, they are like all grey fixtures in my opinion, probably. I think Newcastle haven't actually been as good defensively as we thought they were going to be. They're actually one of the bottom teams in defensive numbers so far this season. Man United, is that really so much of a difficult team? I'm not really sure. Brighton, fair enough, that's kind of tough. Chelsea, we don't really know what Chelsea we're going to get, but right now you wouldn't say that's a tough fixture, but give them a few weeks, maybe Chelsea do improve. But what I'm saying is that over these next game weeks, even though Zaha doesn't have the best fixture in the world, his underlying stats are so good, his form is so good, and we've seen it so much this season, and this kind of is something we should be doing anyway. When a player is in really, really good form, we shouldn't really ignore them no matter what their fixtures are. You kind of have to just assume that whoever they play against, they will, you know, get results from that fixture. So Zaha is, in my opinion, the best midfield buy for Game Week 6, despite the fixture. Okay, I said about the fact that, obviously, Zaha was the best underlying stats of any midfielder right now, but in terms of any player in the entire Premier League, there are 2 players above Zaha. They're 2 players who have slightly better underlying stats than Zaha, in my opinion, in terms of how likely they are to be getting goals and assists and things that help us out in FPL terms. One of those players is Mitrovic, who is in fact number 1. So it goes Mitrovic, Haaland, and then Zaha. So Mitrovic has actually got the best underlying stats of anyone you can see on screen right now, guys. In just 5 games, he's got an insane 4.98 expected goals and 1.18 expected assists. He hasn't actually got an assist yet, but he is getting insane numbers right now. He's taking so many shots in those really dangerous areas again, which is, again, something that we like, the dangerous area shots, and he's providing chances for his teammates as well. He's holding up the ball well. He's on penalties. He's super nailed on. He's playing really well, and every game we're seeing that this guy's just fixture proof. And I know people are going to say, again, Dan, these fixtures, Tottenham away, Chelsea at home, do you really want to buy a player ahead of these fixtures? In my opinion, yes you do, because every single game week we've been saying, you know, maybe we can wait a little bit on Mitrovic, but then he just bangs against another difficult opponent. He just does it every week. It doesn't really matter. He's fixture proof. We get it. And what I'm really worried about is we need to get ahead of it. So we've got him ready for those slightly easier fixtures. You know, I really want to own Mitrovic for that Nottingham Forest game in Game Week 8, for example. And I'm going to make sure that happens no matter what I do. Is it worth going in a little bit earlier on him? Yeah, potentially. He's just in such good form. And once again, with these attacking players, form over fixture. That is the way we've got to think about things. Form over fixture, form over fixture. I've already messed it up. Get that in your brain, guys. Form over fixture when it comes to those attackers. That's what we like. Otters themselves, and they come bearing very bad news that Rodrigo has been announced today that his injury is probably going to be quite bad. It's gonna put him out for a decent few weeks. We're expecting him back sort of game week 8, so that's gonna be after the international break before Rodrigo is available again, which I'm probably pretty sure that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but it does mean that Rodrigo, despite the fact that he's a phenomenal player with these really great fixtures, he's probably going to be out for 3 game weeks, and it's not really worth holding on to him for 3 game weeks. There's just too many other players that are worth going for at a similar price. So Rodrigo, he has to go. He can be, you know, he's injured. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. He's going to be out at least game week 7. Game week 8 is far more likely, and you never know with these things. Sometimes it can extend even further, so maybe it could be game week 9. But I would say the game week 8 is realistic. Game week 7, you would have to be very hopeful. I just can't see it happening at all. But yeah, so Rodrigo is a sell. In terms of those replacements, like I kind of alluded to earlier, Zaha, for me, would be one of the top replacements for Rodrigo. The other players I really like as a Rodrigo replacement are Martinelli, if you haven't got him already. Pascal Gross would be up there as a decent replacement. But also, if you've got 2 transfers to make, I would genuinely consider doing some kind of double transfer where you downgrade Rodrigo to a 4.5 million midfielder and upgrade one of your 4.5 million forwards, if you've got one, for example. If you've got an Archer or someone like that in your team, for example, upgrade them to a Mitrovic. So Mitrovic can actually be a decent replacement as well for you. So yeah, those would be my picks: Martinelli, Zaha, Pascal Gross, and Mitrovic. I know he's in a different position technically, but those 4 I would say I really like for a Rodrigo replacement. Maybe like Luis Diaz potentially, if you've got enough money, or you can move things about a little bit as well. Those are the kind of players I'd be looking for as your Rodrigo replacement. So I hope that does help those of you guys who have unfortunately got the shoulder injured Rodrigo in your squads right now. Okay, let's stick another sell in. I'm going to put Heung-min Son in here, which, yeah, I was kind of struggling for another sell, but I think at this point, we do have, if you have Son in your team, and I know about 10-15% of people do have Son, I think now is the time to probably move on. I am thinking that there is a good chance that Son does actually get rotated in game week 6. I think this has to come to a certain point. You know, his form has not been great. He's not been himself. He's one of those players that when he's really good, he is really good. But when he's not so good, like, he doesn't even really help his team out. He doesn't really contribute very much in the general play of things. And after Spurs' draw last game, I think they are going to be very keen to turn things around and get back on top of things very quickly against Fulham. And Richarlison, I would say definitely deserves a chance. So I can really see Son dropping out for Richarlison in this game against Fulham. And then after that, you know, you've got Man City there and you've got Arsenal there, which are not fixtures probably not fixtures you'd want to have Son for anyway, to be honest, really, if we're completely real, aren't we? So yeah, that's what I would definitely suggest to you guys. Maybe, if possible, try and sell Son and you know, go for someone else, Raheem Sterling maybe, or you know, find a way of moving Son to get like a Salah or a Haaland into your team. I don't know. There's many things, many different situations depending on your personal situation, but Son is going to have to be removed, I think. Okay, this is the big one, guys. In game week 4, we had Trent Alexander-Arnold as the keep. He scored 17 points. In game week 5, we had Cancelo as the defensive keep. He scored 12 points. In game week 6, as the defensive keep, we have got Reece James. 3 game weeks in a row, we've seen these players, and Reece James is exactly the same, these players that are being mass sold, but like sold by hundreds of thousands of people, like 500,000, 600,000 people selling the same defender ahead of what I consider a really decent fixture, a really good, you know, attacking wing back. It's being sold ahead of a really good fixture, and it's happening again with James. People are going to repeat the same mistake again. Like, people are repeating this mistake more often than I'm repeating the not making the Kane to Haaland transfer mistake. But at least, guys, I can try and advise you on not making these terrible mistakes, even if I am going to make certain ones myself. But come on, guys, Reece James, we know that he's back fit. He's been back in training since yesterday. It was only illness that was keeping him out of that midweek game. He's fine. He's back in training. He's taking pictures with the media and stuff. He's absolutely 100% fine. Finally, Chelsea have got a right centre-back. Well, they already did have a right centre-backs, but they refused to play them for some reason. But they've got enough cover now in those defensive positions that they can finally now put Reece James back at right wing back. We know Reece James is very keen to play at right wing back. We know that things have not been going right for Chelsea and they need to switch back to this, you know, more typical 3/5 at the back formation with Reece James heading up that right-hand side, because every time Reece James is on that right wing-back side, in that right mid position, Chelsea are getting results, they're getting goals, they're getting things out of games as soon as James goes into that position. So everyone's going to know at the club, Reece James needs to come back into this squad. He needs to come back at right wing back, and when he does, playing against a West Ham team that I've been pretty disappointed with, I think they've been a pretty poor so far this season, at home as well, a team that's not providing much attacking threat either. This is going to be an opportunity for clean sheets for Chelsea that they are really going to want to keep, and it's going to be a chance for James to get attacking returns as well. So again, we saw hauls from Trent, we saw hauls from Cancelo on weeks that everyone was selling them. I think this week is Reece James time. If you don't have Reece James already, I would even be thinking about buying him right now. I genuinely feel that strongly about him. Ignore the Dorito of death that the FPL website has for some reason put next to James. He's fine. He's good to go. Don't worry. He's okay. Like, ignore the FPL website. Trust the FPL mate. That's what I'm saying. My next keep is Tony. I'm going to go for Tony. Like, the other keep I thought about putting was De Bruyne. I know people are selling De Bruyne because he was benched in Game Week 5, but that just means he's more likely to play in Game Week 6. But I know most of you guys know that anyway, so I won't patronise you guys. But Tony, Ivan Tony is a player that I do think is probably worth keeping. I do. Like, obviously, people do want to move to Mitrovic, and I do understand that. But I think it's really difficult to sell Tony ahead of these games against Leeds and Southampton. Even though Mitrovic has been in amazing form, I would argue that Tony has been in really, really good form as well. You can see by his underlying stats on screen right now. He has got really, really decent stats as well. 5 big chances with these, or a decent amount of shots in the box, and a decent amount of XG, and also expected assists as well, which I think is really important. We've seen him create a lot for his teammates. We know he's on penalties. We know he's the captain. Super nailed on. Like, there's so much to like about Tony so many times, and the fact that he's blanked in the last 2 games, I wouldn't let it put you off, because in those blanks he has actually played well. I know a lot of people use their, they make transfers based on the metric. How many points did a player score last week? If it's low, they are sold. If it's high, they are bought. That is not a very good metric. When you see a player like Tony playing well in these games despite scoring low points, that's actually a good sign. That's actually a sign we should be jumping on these kind of players rather than going away from them. We want to get ahead of the points, not just react to past points necessarily. So Tony, I think he's still good to go. I think he is still worth keeping. I would definitely be keeping him if I had him. He's a really good player, and he's got some, he's playing well as well, and that's what we want, right? Okay, first avoid is going to be Perisic. It's a difficult one. I don't want you guys to think that I think that Perisic is a bad player or a bad pick, because I definitely don't think that. In fact, if I had Perisic, I probably would be keeping him. However, would I be buying him right now personally? I don't think I would. I really don't think I would, because I'm really, really concerned that he is going to get rested or rotated in Game Week 6 against Fulham. I think that this is going to be the game where he does drop out. Sessegnon comes into this team, into this Spurs team, because we have to remember Perisic is like, he's getting on a little bit. He's a little bit older. We already knew that Conte was the kind of manager who was going to manage Perisic's minutes a little bit, and I think he will be spared this weekend's game, to be honest. So we're probably going to see Perisic maybe get a few minutes at the end of the game, but that's not going to be enough really. It's probably going to be like a 1-pointer or something like that if that was the case. And even if he does start, I really can see Perisic not even making it to 60 minutes. So I think there's going to be a little bit of rotation. I think Sessegnon is going to eat into the minutes of Perisic in Game Week 6. And then after that, we've got Man City, Leicester, Arsenal, all teams that we know can score goals. So the clean sheets are not really going to be available there. And, even Man City away, Arsenal away, two defenses that probably have been the top 2 defensive so far this season, really. Obviously, Leicester not so much, but certainly Arsenal and Man City, you're not going to get a clean sheet against them. You're not going to get an attacking return against them, or at least less likely than usual. It just it doesn't seem good if you're taking a risk on the rotation in this Fulham game, because you're just playing for one game. You're bringing Perisic in for one specific game that you don't even know if he's going to start or not for. And to me, that sounds a little bit too risky, a little bit too much for me, so I have to put Perisic down as an avoid. But like I say, if I had him already, there is no risk. You already have the player. You're not taking a risk. You're not taking a punt. You already have that punt, that risk in your team. But using the transfer and taking that risk, I think it's just a step too far for me. So Perisic, avoid. And my second avoid is going to be Joel Veltman, just because I kind of nicked him off the video I made earlier. I couldn't think of a second avoid, so I thought, right, who did I speak badly about in the video earlier? I made the tier list video, and Veltman was obviously that one. No offense, Veltman, but no, the problem is with Veltman is I look at these fixtures, and yes, they are really good for a defensive point of view, but like I look at like Leicester and Bournemouth, and I kind of just think, I want an attacker for these fixtures. I want a player that can score goals or get assists in these games. I want a little bit more from my money. And Veltman is probably the last player. Now, fair enough, Veltman's done very well for bonus points recently. But in these games where you expect Brighton may score a couple of goals, I don't think you'll be able to rely as much on defenders getting bonus points. And we're going to have situations like players like, Lewis Dunk, who is a super good attacking threat from those set pieces. He's going to have a good chance of getting goals, particularly if there's a lot of corners and stuff like that. Dunk is going to be a better option than Veltman at the same price. And we've also got players, like our good friend Estepinian. Estepinian is actually slightly cheaper than Veltman. He's 4.5 million, and I really do prefer Estepinian at 4.5, just because he is a very attacking player. He gets in those really attacking dangerous areas. We've already seen that. We've already seen him create chances. We've already seen him win a penalty for Brighton. He looks good, and he gets the same amount of clean sheet points as Veltman, but he's more attacking, he's cheaper, and he could get goal returns as well in fixtures like this, which you kind of look at and you think, these fixtures, the next two in particular, these two fixtures favour an attacker. These fixtures are begging for an attacker. So let's, rather than spend our money on a defensive defender, maybe go for a more attacking defender if we are going to go for a defender. But I also wanted to just talk about those cheaper defenders in general right now. There are two more defenders that I haven't mentioned. So obviously Lewis Dunk I like, obviously Estepinian I like, Saliba I could take or leave. But there are two more defenders that I do really like as well if you are looking for those budget defenders. Obviously we've got Fofana, who is 4.4 million and going to be playing for Chelsea. If you want a bench option, I think he's the one to go for. But a special shout out to Nico Williams, who not only has fantastic fixtures, Bournemouth up next, for example, he's got incredible attacking numbers underlying. He's taking so many shots, he's creating so much, and although Nottingham Forest haven't really been the best defensively, if you're looking for attacking returns for a cheap player, I would just say forget the fact that Nico Williams, he's a bench player because of his price. He is genuinely a player I would consider playing over the next couple of game weeks. Nico Williams could be the one. I'm quite jealous of Nico Williams owners, to be honest. I would quite like to have him in my team and play him because I think he could score really, really well. So there you go. There's your spiel on cheap defenders. In summary, guys, we've got a decent amount of data to be working with now. So now the patterns that we're seeing, I think they count. They really do count. So when you see Zaha consistently playing well for, well, I guess 4 game weeks, when you see some of these other players, Mitrovic, Haaland, whoever, and you see them performing well for several game weeks, it's enough data to now suggest that, yes, this is possibly going to continue. So these are the kind of players we want to be looking at. So, yeah, remember, if you want to check out, Opta stats or anything like that, there's a link in the description. All of these stats that have come to your faces these today were provided by Fantasy Football Hub. So check the link out in the description if you want to check out more stats of more players. But, yeah, those players like that who are just really, really performing really well are very, very nice players to go for, perhaps before we take too many puns. So, yeah, keep your cool, guys. Think of those form aspects rather than the fixtures when you're looking at those attackers, and then with our defenders maybe focus a little bit more on the fixtures. So yeah, there we go. That's the summary. Thank you so much for watching today's video, guys. If you did enjoy what you saw today, please do leave a like, please do subscribe. It all really does help out the channel so much. Let me know if there are any buy, sell, keeps or avoids that you would recommend this week. Is there any players you are definitely avoiding, definitely buying, definitely the other categories? I'm sure you get the idea, and I'd be really interested to read some of those. We're going to do a team selection video tomorrow. If you haven't checked out the tier list video, that is on the channel as well, but that's pretty much it, guys. So thank you once again so much for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.